Hi, good evening and welcome to my program. My name is Kwarteng Sarpong, a student of Melbourne Institute of Technology, Sydney campus. My ID number is MIT171329. Tonight I would like to have a discussion that concerns Linux. And when I say Linux, I'm going to talk about two monitoring tools that we use in Linux. I'm going to compare the two monitoring tools in relation to their features. But in short, let's look in some of what we are going to discuss tonight. First of all, we are going to look at some features of the tools and how to use them. We are also going to look at what the features are used for. And lastly, how information provided by the features can be used by the system administrator to manage the system effectively. Now let's head straight to our Ubuntu and see what we can do. First of all, let's talk about LSoft. LSoft simply means list open files. Remember, in Linux, we always talk about files. LSoft allows the system administrator to list open files or identify the processes that particular files have opened. Now let's look at how we can open LSoft. Because I've already installed LSoft on my system, I wouldn't waste much time, but I just type LSoft here and I enter, and it opens a whole lot of things for me here. Now let's move up and see what it has opened. First of all, we have the PID. I would like to talk about the PID. The PID simply means process identification number, which is automatically assigned to each process when it is created, and each process has a unique PID. We also have FD, which is the file descriptor. It is an abstract indicator used to access a file or other input or output resources such as pipe or network socket. We also have the type, which is we have dir, which is a directory, and yes, under the file descriptor we have the cwd, which is the current working directory. We also have the rtd, which is the root directory, and then when we come down here you can see we have 255u. The u simply means read and write combined, and then let's go down a bit. Yes, and here you see W. W means write, and you see R, which means read. So basically, and when you see there is TXT, TXT means the program text. So basically, these are some of the features in short we can talk about. Now let's look at some of the commands we can initiate here in LSoft. First of all, to know whose PID is a certain number, we can find out by typing a command and add that PID. So we can find out whose PID is a certain number. So for example, let's go up here. Let's go to the PID. So for example, if you want to know whose PID is 2, you just go down here and then we type LSoft 2 then space 2. Yes. So it opens to ask whose PID is 2, and then we know the device, we know the type, we know the size, and we know the node and the name, and all that is given. Secondly, we can also find out a file that is opened by a particular user. For example, if you want to find out a file that is opened by the root user, you quickly go to LSoft, then our U is here, then we put in root. So we find out that these files have been opened by the root user. So the FD is here, the type of file is here, the device, we have the size, we have the node name. So these files have been opened by the root user. Now, having said this, let's also go to our second discussion, or our second tool, which is PowerTop. Now, someone may ask, what is PowerTop? PowerTop simply means a terminal-based diagnosis tool developed by Intel to help in monitoring power usage by programs running on a Linux system when it is not plugged in to a power source. So, by the use of PowerTop, we are able to know which type of application or process is consuming more power, and we can make decisions about that. So quickly, let's go into it and see how we can also use our PowerTop here. So we put in PowerTop, and then let's try to run it. And then yes, we have this PowerTop here, and when we look at the features, this is the ideal statistics, this is the frequency statistics, this is the device stats, this is the tunables. So this is also got to do with the PowerTop. So for example, when we come here, the usage, we know the amount of usage that has been used. See this 88.754.7%. This is using 54.7% of the power, and then we have all this here, and then we are able to see the description and the category in which they fall into. So by this, when you are able to know which process is consuming power, you are able to change your power setting and make plans to adjust to your power setting. Now, without wasting much time, let's look at how these tools are useful to the system administrator. Now, let's look at how LSOF is useful to the system administrator. Firstly, you know some files may be open and they may be wasting so much disk space, and the system administrator will want to know what the process has the file open, and he or she can stop that particular file and empty it so that it wouldn't waste much resources. Secondly, it helps the system administrator to know what some suspicious process is doing, and therefore he can examine the files that has been opened and can provide valuable information about that particular file. When we talk about PowerTop 2, PowerTop helps the system administrator to explore and devise a power management setting for the system. So basically, this is all about the two tools we are talking about, and they are very useful to the system administrator. Now, in conclusion, we have looked at the two tools that are used in monitoring in Linux. We have known the usefulness of these two tools in relation to their feature. Now we know that these two tools are very useful to the system administrator. I think we can have a bit in-depth knowledge of that and see how we can use them, because they are very important so far as Linux is concerned. Viewers, this will be all for tonight. Let's meet another time for a more interesting discussion. Thank you. Good night.